This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Okay, so last night was the first gig with the ToneMaster Pro. I thought if you're going to buy a piece of gear for 1,500 quid and do videos with it, you might as well try and gig it. And so one of the things that I've had a few people kind of concerned, either that I have a vendetta against Fender, which I can assure you I don't, because they sent me a free guitar last year. I was, you know, very surprised, or was it the year before that? Anyway, they sent me one of those Fender American Vintage 2 Strats, which they didn't have to do. You know, that's an expensive guitar. I was very flattered at the time. And yeah, in the review that I did of that piece of gear, you saw me show you the flaws with it. That is kind of what I'm trying to do here in general, is kind of be transparent about what's going on with these bits and pieces. And if I find there are things that are maybe not whatever, I'll show you. There's not really any point to me in a review channel that only shows you things that they like. What I'm doing here is kind of looking at pieces of gear that are relevant, are new, and, you know, kind of looking at it in the wider context of what's available in the modeling world. Things like Quad Cortex, things like Fractal audio stuff, things like Kemper. You might notice that I've not said that I would buy a Helix instead of this, because I feel like, and this has been the case for a while now, that the Helix is kind of an older piece of gear. I'm not saying that I would sell a Helix for this either, but my thinking is that this is potentially the people going to be watching these videos who already have a modeler, because that's possibly why you might have found this channel in the first place. Is there some new piece of gear that does something new that is a reason to spend some more money on the latest, greatest thing? Now, obviously, it's Fender's job as a marketing enterprise to tell you that this is the latest, greatest thing, does everything better than everything else. It's kind of my job as a guitarist that goes out and buys pieces of gear to be skeptical of some of these claims and ask those questions. For instance, that's why I did the video, is this the most powerful modeler? Because they told us that it is. So when I show you literally what you can load into this thing, it's not about me trying to like do anything other than just show you that. If it was a question that I had, I figured maybe some other people might also have that question. So hopefully from watching some of these videos, you might get some answers. Right, anyway, so as I've said before, form factor really nice. For gigging, ideal. I think actually this does have kind of the best aspects of the Helix and the Quad Cortex in terms of having kind of the rotary stuff, which is kind of cool in some ways, has the touchscreen, also has the scribble strips, which when I gigged the Quad Cortex, I did definitely miss. I think these are fantastic for gigging. You know, you've got them on the Fractal devices, you've got them on the Helix. You don't have them on the Helix LT, but I do think they make a real difference in terms of, you know, knowing what's under your feet at all times. That's good. Also, I think it's a good size, whereas compared to the Helix now, feels quite big. I feel like what the Quad Cortex in some ways did was show that you can have like a very powerful device which is slightly smaller and a bit more practical for taking around, flying and all that sort of stuff. So that's good. In terms of outputs, I had the left and right jacks going to front of house, and I had output 2 set up to go to a Henriksen bud, which I send through a Mesa Boogie EV speaker. Now, the first set, basically things sounded incredibly fizzy and thin. I'll show you later on in this video what I was setting up and stuff. Basically, I had to then go into the global EQ and just drop all of the high end so that things weren't so fizzy and, you know, that typical modeler thing. Now, the reason that I guess I was thinking that I didn't need to do all of that dropping of the high end and stuff is because we're told that this is, you know, even closer to the real thing than some other things that have come before. But that's kind of the point that I need to remind myself of, and that maybe one or two of you might be reminded of, that there is no actual magic bullet for this modeling stuff. And I did have an email from a chap who was saying that part of why people don't like modelers is because of the interface. And yes, maybe that's part of it. I think another part of why they don't like modelers is because there's a really frustrating gap between something that sounds really good in the studio with your monitors and how it actually sounds when you take it up to volume with a band. And crossing that gap is actually, I think, the big problem that people have. It's not, to me, that you can't get it to sound pretty good at home. It's more that when you take it out of the studio to home, you get this whole situation where it's like, well, that doesn't sound at all like what I want. Doesn't sound like an amp. It doesn't sound like much. It sounds like a lot of low end, a lot of high end. The Tone Master doesn't solve that problem. So you're going to have to treat it basically like every other modeler, where you do lots of high cuts, or dial in the preset to be considerably darker than you would at home, so that when you take it live, you don't get kind of that high end fizzy stuff, which I don't think of as digital. I think of it as what happens when you stick a mic kind of close to a cone on a cab or whatever. So check out Rhett's live stream on this as well, because I thought he had some thoughts on it that were kind of interesting. I think he's gone a bit further than I would have in terms of how it sounds, but there are other opinions out there. So yeah, I'll show you now. This is the editor, how I set it up, but just a reminder to myself and to others, if you're using a modeler live, set it up to be darker, because the brightness and all of that stuff doesn't really translate hugely well once you get it in front of a PA speaker. It's just going to sound quite raspy. But yeah, second set was a bit more enjoyable once I tamed that with the global EQ, which I'll show you now. If you've gigged a Tone Master Pro, let me know your thoughts. But yeah, that's the first gig in terms of what's under your feet. Good. The seamless preset switching, again, good. Yeah, it wasn't a great gig anyway, to be fair. But anyway, that's the Tone Master Pro. I've got a few more video ideas. Sorry if it feels like I'm bombarding you with it, but this was like how I've been in general on this channel with the Strymon Iridium as well. When I bought that, it was like, right, I want to answer the questions that I have in the hope that someone else can see the video if they have those same questions. I will at some point presumably get around to doing some kind of comparisons. If you've got suggestions for that, you could maybe email me. But yeah, I'm not trying to rag on the unit at all. I'm just trying to give my honest take on it as a piece of gear that I bought as someone who has most of the other modelers. I'm not really in the pocket of any of these companies, to be honest. Like Line 6, if this was way better, I don't feel like I have any loyalty particularly to any of these. I've pissed off people at various companies by saying I prefer products and stuff. And my main thing that I've been comparing this to has been the Quad Cortex. And to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of Neural DSP as a company anyway. It's just the latest thing, and I was just comparing how it stacks up to that. So anyway, that's kind of some stuff. If you're worried about that, I'd be cynical and skeptical too, but I'm not just trying to bag on the unit. I'm trying to answer questions that might be useful to someone out there, hopefully before they decide whether or not to spend the £1,600 on a piece of gear. Yeah. It's easy, I think, to forget some of this stuff, you know, where you get kind of buying into this idea that something's sounding more real or whatever. Basically, as I maybe just said, you have to do pretty much the same thing with most of these modelers. The things that sound pretty good in the studio sometimes don't really translate live. That's something that I should have obviously remembered. So anyway, the thing that I had to do to get a bit of a passable kind of result was I went into the mixer. So you can see you can set these things to be controlled by the master volume or not. So my monitor was going out via output 2. So if you press this master thing, you can actually affect the volume independently. So that's no longer used by the master. So that was useful. So I could, you know, not affect the volume going to the front of house, but, you know, turn up that. And then the other thing that I ended up doing, which is now gone, weirdly enough. So the global EQ doesn't save. It's got this setting here with the high kind of roll off. I ended up having to do this sort of thing to really tame the high end a little bit and have it so it was less kind of aggressive. It was just a bit scooped, a bit too much high end, like with most modelers, unless you're really careful with them. In some ways that's my own fault, I guess, for kind of forgetting how to use a modeler for a second there. But you know, this is a problem you don't really have with the Kemper necessarily so much, because someone, hopefully, if they're building stuff for live use, has kind of taken this stuff into account. I think that is potentially why people end up having better results with the Kemper, because partly someone in a studio somewhere, or someone, you know, who gigs the thing live, has figured out that generally an aggressive high cut and maybe even a low cut is the way to get more reliable results live. And so the difference really would be like this sort of thing. You can choose which output you want it on. So I put it on both. That sort of thing was a bit more palatable. That would have worked much better if I'd done that from the start, but that looks, you know, really aggressive now looking at it. It really does matter, you know. I find that typically the modeling thing, when you bring it up to stage volumes, you're going to find things that typically sound a little bit on the thin side generally. So I like to dial things in a bit darker to avoid that. That was what I did between set 1 and set 2, which got me a little bit closer in the ballpark to a tone that was working a bit better. Not an ideal gig to start with, but that did help, but without that, you know, I was getting really kind of fizzy. Results like that, which was more or less kind of working with the defaults. I'd probably turn that presence. I don't know, lessons learned, I guess. Here's the first time using Pro Control, and the reason that I wanted to check this out was because, well, a few reasons. First of all, I think it's important to show that there is a desktop editor for this boy, and it actually looks, I think, really good. And it loads up quickly. There wasn't like a process where you have to wait for it to sync with the device. So with the fractal units, you have like a time where it's loading. Helix doesn't have that. Hotone Ampero Stomp, it tends to drop out and stuff. And of course the Neural DSP editor is not a thing yet. So I wanted to set up a preset for gigs. Now we do actually have an IR manager here. Maybe I should load in an IR. But loading an IR goes something like that. That's relatively easy. I haven't seen any literature about what types of IRs are acceptable yet. We've got set lists. We've got songs. I don't know. And then what? You add presets to songs if you were setting things up like that. Now, for me, the way that I think I'm going to be setting up is actually my song will be a set list in general, so general function, because I would typically not have more than 4 sounds in a gig. So I'll come back to this songs bit once I've set up the actual presets. So we're going to need a clean tone, so we're going to rename this one, or not, well, let's just add in. So for me, typically I'd be using a fairly high headroom thing. So I might use the litigator on the Helix. I might use a Dumble type amp on Fractal. I would use the Lone Star if I was gigging the Quad Cortex. We don't have those, so maybe we go for either twin or super reverb. I'm going to go with super reverb. And turn that volume down. It comes up over here. And I'm going to up the bass because I'm using single coils. Oh no. Take the reverb down. And also bringing the treble down slightly, because it is going to be at least partly a direct gig. Cab is over here. And what I'm going to maybe try to do is keep some element of the rig relatively consistent. Let's save that JC clean. So other aspects that I'm going to need on this clean tone is, well, actually the clean just by itself, maybe I'll just add in effects like a phaser. So add in a phaser 90. As an option, we'll foot switch assign that one over here. On or off, phaser, confirm. Let's have it, that's my alarm going off. Have it orange. Okay, back. So that'll be there as an option. Switch mode, just turn it off. And then also a drive I want. That's quite cool. You see the assignment's modified from another device. That's because I just did it on the floor. Let's add in the Nashville overdrive as a bit of a option for a boost. Foot switch assign, stick it here. That's what she said. Here, confirm. Color, green, back, save. Right, and what I'm going to have okay, bypass that, and I need another delay, no, a delay for my dotted type stuff. So let's add one in. Well, maybe I need two types of delay. So effects, delay, we'll go with stereo tape echo. This will be time. Can we change this to be that sort of thing? Right, anyway, so that's there. Let's assign that one over bypass and assign EXP assign. Nope, that's EXP. I don't want that there. I want it over here. On or off. Delay. Let's make it green. Okay, back. And the assignment is the wrong way round, so I need to do that. Okay, save. Right, and then last of all, I guess I'll add in just like a kind of delay just in case type, where it's a bit of a more generic. Ping pong might be good for that. And we'll assign that to our full foot switch assign, over here, on or off, that one. Confirm, okay, and that's colour, like the actor, Mr. Murphy. Right, so, save. I need to bring that mix down. Cool, right, so bypass that. So that's my basic clean tone. Let's put that, let me see what I see here. I want to put that on 150 empty, so that's on the far right. Then underneath that at 147, can I just move that to there? 147. So then I got JC clean, but this will be with the delay on. Save, delay, save. Okay, so now I can switch on my feet between. Cool. Right, and then we need a drive tone at 149. So this will be like my solo tone. So I think I'm going to go with, for me, I've found like the Friedman thing seemed to be getting closest to what I'm after, really. Actually, so this will be our rhythm to start with. So and we'll put that in 48, save. Right, things I want to add to this. Just add delay if we want it. So I'll go for that ping pong again. Where are you, ping? There. That's coming out really loud still. So we want that one there, foot switcher sign over here, on or off, delay. Cool. What I could also do, program this switch here, HBE, which is a boost, into foot switcher sign over here, parameter change, confirm, HBE, select activated value, on, off. So now on my foot switch, we could do that. Cool. So that covers my rhythm tone. Then if I save this to here as well, I'm going to build off of this same tone because I think that helps to have some consistency between. But I'm going to boost the mids. Right, so what other things might we need to do here? Go into our cab, and I'm going to roll off the highs a bit more for the lead. Okay, I'm not thinking I need to do too much more with that. I probably need to program that in to be a boost. I might have to change this during sound check. Right, so just save, and that's that. Then if I come, oh, I've got my, so I've got 2 levels of lead, I bit more gain with the HBE. So then, now I've got my setup. So my rhythm, my lead, and my clean. It'll just be a case of kind of balancing them out. Okay, and that's a G and a C sharp minor, which works really nicely. Right, so songs in set list. Where's my set list? Songs, general function. Song foot switch assignment. So we could either have the set list like that. So for this is how I would normally have things set up. That's cool. This would be my JC lead. Confirm. This one would be my clean. This would be JC clean. Delay. Confirm. And maybe I would even add in like a mid-gain type tone. If I go back here to the clean delay, and then this one here, I guess I would want to be like a different lead tone. So I don't know, just put this lead tone that I've got here on there. So now looking down at the board is in song view. And that's got me ready for the gig, I think. So, yeah, I'm fairly happy with how that works. The general vibe that I'm getting with this app, no problems with it at all. We've got some stuff here. The songs and setlist stuff is new. Adding an IR, easy. We've got the Fender Cloud here if you want. I don't think any of that's there yet. But yeah, that's relatively straightforward. I kind of like that you're able to mix in and match bits and pieces, and because we've got our seamless switching, which now actually the Axe-Fx has as well, we can set things up in this way and kind of pull things in from other places. So that's kind of cool. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you've got any other questions, leave a comment, I guess. Cheers for stopping by.